On this episode, we are going to talk about extricating yourself from your business or work. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Steel Entrepreneur Show. This is episode 21, and we are going to talk all about removing yourself from your work, from your business, basically outsourcing what it is or delegating what it is that you do every day. And I'll tell you why this is important for me. I do not plan to work in September of this year. I don't want to check emails. I don't want to check Slack. I don't want to check Skype. I don't want to talk to customers. I don't want to be a part of the equation, period. I want my team to run it equal or ideally better than I would if I was there. And the reason I'm doing this is because my honeymoon is in the month of September, and I want to enjoy it to the fullest. So, kind of going with this show's theme, I am documenting what I am doing and sharing that with you, and sharing what I learn along the way. And so this is not sort of my first go at delegating. I am the type of person who delegates, processes, and then loads it all back on. And right now I'm in a period where I have loaded it all back on, and I'm putting in about roughly 250 hours of work every month. So I have to delegate essentially 250 hours of work to other team members. And so I've kind of gone back to a lot of the original principles, or the original readings, the original literature that I read when I started this sort of delegation process in the past, including Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, which is an absolute classic, as far as I'm concerned, it is. I've picked up, I have not read yet, Peter, I want to say Ducker or Drucker's The Effective Executive. Danny, you got to get that.
It's a good one, eh?
Oh, dude, I've read one chapter in, and it's kind of like there's this book called Eat That Frog.
Yeah.
And the first chapter is just sticky note. I practically went through an entire highlighter, just highlighting the first couple chapters, and then finally rework by, I think it's Jason Fried and I can't remember, David something. I'm trying to remember what they started a tool like Trello. It's not Asana, it's not Trello, doesn't matter. Anyways, actually link it up because it's pretty nifty. I've used it here and there. I use Trello mostly, but anyways. So between these books, I hope that I can sort of relearn or kind of pick out what I lost during the time that I read it, and now where I picked up all these bad habits again. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Now, as I mentioned, there are some things that I already know, that I've already done, but sometimes it helps to repeat them, to try them again, and some of them have been really effective so far. So I'm going to go over those, and hopefully there's at least maybe one or two things that you haven't done before. And I should be really clear, it doesn't matter whether you're an entrepreneur or not. You could be working for someone and apply these same things, come into work for an hour, and if your boss is cool with it, leave and have done the exact same amount of work that you would have done in an 8-hour day. But because you were effective, you're getting just as much as you would get done in an 8-hour day. That's the idea. So it doesn't matter. Entrepreneur, wantrepreneur, intrapreneur, it doesn't matter. So the first thing that I think could not be more critical, in fact, I would say it's probably the most important thing out of all, is discipline. You're not going to be able to do any of this unless you are disciplined. If you're disciplined enough to take the time to put together the processes, the videos, what have you, that whomever you're going to delegate this to is going to require in order to do it at least 80%, at least 80% as well as you can. And that's kind of the scale that I assign to this is, can that person that I intend to delegate, can they be trusted? One, 2, can they do it at least 80% as well as I can? And if they can, I shouldn't be doing it in the first place. That's kind of the rule of thumb. So discipline in deciding, I'm not just going to do this task myself right now, right? It's so tempting to do it yourself because you know how to do it, you know it'll be done a certain way, and if you just do it right now, you're going to get it done a lot faster than if you took the time to create the process, create the screenshot video, what have you, the training that will follow, the verifying that will follow, the mistakes that will follow, etc., etc. You have to have the discipline to take that step. So that if you don't have that, forget it. Stop watching right now because it's just not going to happen for you. It's that important. Next thing is a forensic analysis. So essentially what that means is looking at what you've been doing to get you to this point of busyness, this point of chaoticness. Basically going through your calendar, going through your journal. I've got a Trello board where I put all my daily tasks, checking that out, looking through Slack, conversations you've had in the past, Trello, conversations you've had in the past, your emails, I mentioned your calendar already. Basically, you're trying to get a sense of what is it that you are doing every single day to have brought yourself to this point, and take note of it. And then just start kind of categorizing it and figuring out, okay, who's going to do what? What can I give up? What can't I give up? What can somebody do 80% as well? What can't they do? And if they can't, what can I do to automate it, to do whatever? And speaking of automation, your first instinct should be to try and automate it. That's number one. Can I automate it? Because if you delegate it to someone, you're paying some money. If you automate it, you're not necessarily paying some money. It could be free once you've built the if this then that, or maybe you pay $15 to Zapier every month to create that integration, or what have you, right? That should be your first instinct, because a person is going to cost you more money. That's just the way it is. So automate, delegate, and then if you can't accomplish those, then maybe it's something that you should be doing yourself. But in my world, I don't want to do anything. Worst case, in September, I will postpone it. I won't do it, I will postpone it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So forensic analysis. The next thing is, as I was mentioning, postpone or plan ahead. There are some things, as I mentioned, that others can't do. I'm not going to have someone sit in for me on this show necessarily. It probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Not saying that somebody couldn't do better. Absolutely somebody could do it better. But that's kind of one of those things that it's pretty hard to delegate, right? And certainly there are some probably some sensitive things that I wouldn't want to necessarily delegate, because again, there might not be a person that is trusted enough perhaps to do that particular task because it is just so big or so important or so critical or what have you. So if that's the case, then I either have to plan ahead or I need to postpone. Ideally, I want to plan ahead. So in the case of this show, Danny, you and I are going to be probably putting 4 shows in the can essentially. Now that sucks because I like every show to be timely. I like it to be relevant. I like it to be what I am currently working on. So when you watch this video, generally speaking, it was just a few days ago that I was actually doing this stuff, right? I am probably actively doing it as you're watching it, assuming you're not watching it, months and months later. And then worst case, I have to postpone it, right? And there are some things that certainly can be postponed without anyone dying, without everything going to shit. There are things that can be postponed and frankly should be postponed. So that's okay. That is okay. Huge thing. And I've been, more than any of these, I've been really trying to kind of figure out is delegating my inbox, divorcing myself from my inbox, from the support that I do. I don't want to answer email anymore unless I absolutely have to. That's not just for September, that's period. I'm done with email, or at least the 95, 98% of the email that I can avoid. Of course, if you guys send me a message, I'm going to answer that. But any, business, client, support, whatever email, that's going to be delegated. Now I have an assistant already, so that goes a long way to tackling this because I already have somebody that I trust. And that's really important. You have to have somebody that you feel comfortable with essentially giving access to not only all of the emails that come in, but all the emails of the past as well. Think about that. There's probably a lot of stuff in there, right? So it has to be someone you're really confident in, someone you really trust, somebody you know is, something's not going to go down, right? And a good way to do that, if you're not 100% sure, Gmail has this function called Delegate, and you can essentially just give that person's email access and very easily revoke that access very quickly instead of just giving them your logins, which may be your logins to this and that and what have you. So that's a quick thing. Let's see what else. Creating drafts. So I'm not going to have her send emails for me right away. Instead, what I'm going to do, how are we doing for time, Danny? I really want to get through this quickly.
13 minutes right
13
now.
minutes. I'm getting there. Okay, so I'm going to have her create drafts of emails. So she's not going to go ahead and reply to the email right away. What she's going to do is she's going to create a reply in draft for me, and then we're going to create like a folder for me to go through, and I'll just be like approved, 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 and she'll fire those off. And then ones where they may need some work, I will explain to her at that time why I would have done something a little bit differently, or why maybe that should be an email that I answer. That is one of the 1%, the 2%, the 3% of emails that I should answer. The other thing we're going to do is certainly as her comfort level, or my comfort level with her, and her sort of comfort level with emailing as me or emailing sort of care of me, which is, I would argue, a lot better than emailing as me. I think people will tell whether it's me or somebody else. So I think just having her maybe go care of kind of thing wouldn't be a bad idea. But getting back to it, having labels or folders. So anything that is me, that rather needs to be replied to by me, she'll put a label on it. And I'm talking about Gmail, of course, because that's what we use. We use Google Apps. Or put it into a folder. So important or whatever, and so those will be the only ones. I'm not going to pay any attention to the general inbox. I just have a folder within the inbox. Those are the ones that I pay attention to. So all of a sudden, my inbox went from being 100, 200 emails a day, whatever, to 10, 5, 3. How amazing is that? How less stressful is that? We'll create some rules around it. We'll say, okay, I want you to check it in the morning, and I want you to check it at night. We have other rules, like we use Boomerang, so I don't want you to reply to that, X people any sooner than 24 hours. So she sets it up, she sort of queues it up for sending so that we don't create bad habits. That's really important. Moving on. I'm close actually. So Snagit is my next thing. Snagit by TechSmith. So basically what it is it's a screen capture recording tool. You can grab screenshots, you can grab video and audio of you surfing your computer and whatnot. And this captures the nuance in the processes I try to create. So I will create a process document, but step by step you miss a lot of that nuance, and sometimes it's hard to picture even with screenshots. So if I do a video to accompany the process document, that's a lot more helpful. And so before I tackle a task, I'm thinking to myself, okay, first, can somebody do it 80% as well? Okay, can I trust them? Okay, can I, do they have time to do it? Things like that. And then I decide, okay, you know what? Yes, it's going to take a little bit longer for you to do. Let's plan it. Let's not, maybe you don't have time to do it now, right? But you can plan it for later. So I'm going to create 30 minutes. If it's a task that I always do, I'm going to create 30 minutes in my calendar the next day or the following day or whatever. And I'm going to sit down and I'm going to tackle that. And I'm going to process that. And I'm going to do the video. Because now instead of having the 15 minutes that I originally set aside for the task, I have 30 minutes. And I can actually put together that video without rushing it. But don't forget, you can create the process document. You can create the the Snagit video capture, but you still need to make sure that you are available to answer questions. And I see a lot of problems happen there where you think, oh, I'll just hand it off and then they'll do it, no problem. No. Two things. One, you have to be there. You have to make yourself available. You have to ask them questions. You have to make sure that they understand how it's done. And then two, you have to verify. What's his name? Derek Sivers of cdbaby.com. He has this classic example where he walked away from something after delegating it. He did not verify. Trust and verify, or trust but verify. He walked away from it. And so a month or 2 months later, he realized the sole purpose of this guy's job that he had delegated it to wasn't getting done. He was months behind. And so what he found himself doing is spending the next 2 months, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, sleeping at the office, trying to catch up so that his customers, his reputation was already burned just from that. Or his reputation was basically being burned because of this person's delinquency, but also his failure to verify. So trust, but verify. And finally, prepare for failure, right? And that's why I create a lot of these documents, is because inevitably that person will leave, right? It's going to happen. So plan for them to leave, essentially. Make sure that as part of their duty is to keep those documents up to date, right? To, with every sort of nuance that they learn or change that happens, or addition to the task, or whatever it is, that document is always kept up to date. Because if they leave, then you can grab that document, give it to the next person. No problem. Yeah, you're going to have to do a little bit of training, but the intellectual property is right there. It's not in that person who just left, right? So that's how I'm going to tackle it. That's kind of the best I have so far. Now, this is an organic thing. I will touch on this later. I will create shorts around it. I will, as things come up, I will try and share them on my blog, whatever, right? This isn't sort of just a one-time video. I'm going to be doing this over the next, 8 to 9 months, or 7 to 8, or my counting sucks. But, and I'll keep you in the loop. And that's what this show is about. It's about taking what I'm learning and trying to help you learn it without having to make some of the mistakes that I will undoubtedly make along the way. So that's it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed this material, if you have enjoyed this video, if you have enjoyed the time that I have taken and my team takes to create these videos, you know what you can do, and we would sincerely appreciate it. A comment, a like, a subscription, send me an email. I love getting emails, and I will check your emails, and I will reply to your emails. Adam@magistrateinc.com. Appreciate your time, appreciate your attention. Have a wonderful week. Thanks, guys.